everyone. As promised, today we're going to look at different variations of camel pose. I'm going to take you through 4 different variations of what camel pose can look like for you. And some of the benefits of this pose are that A, it is a back bend, so there's tons of benefits associated with that, including just opening up the entire front line of the body. So opening up the chest, the shoulders. It's a bit of a compression in the spine as well and the back. Okay, so if you are someone who has lower back sensitivities, if you've got limited mobility in your shoulders, if you're someone who maybe has really high blood pressure, you're going to want to take it easy before going into the full expression of this pose, if that's something that you're working towards. Okay, so some of the questions that I've been asked about camel pose is, how can I start with back bends without hurting myself? Which is a fantastic question because yoga should not be painful. Okay, so with camel pose, no matter which variation you're opting for, you're going to come into a kneeling position on your knees with the knees hip distance apart. Okay, so this is really important because this is forming your base. Okay, your stability is going to come from here. Variation number 1, simply take your hands and place them on the small of your back. Pretend you've got pockets that you're sticking your hands into. Okay, and we want to ensure that the hips stay stacked over the knees. Okay, so as we move into this pose, start to squeeze the elbows together and keep pressing the hips forward. So this right here, we want to keep the neck elongated here as well. This right here is an excellent variation of camel pose. Okay, take a few breaths and then release the pose. Now, if you're someone who's got really sensitive knees and just a mat like this isn't enough, you can always fold the mat over to give yourself a little extra padding, or grab a blanket or grab some pillows. That won't lift the knees up too much but are able to provide sufficient padding for your knees. Trust me, it does make a huge difference. So that was variation number 1. Variation number 2, something similar in that we still want to keep the hips stacked over the knees, only this time, instead of having this elbow squeezing together, we're going to interlace the fingers, okay, and start here first. Interlace the fingers and see if you can start to straighten out the arms. Okay. Once you're able to straighten out the arms, keep pressing the hips forward. Knuckles are going to lengthen towards your heels. Take a few breaths and release the pose. Okay, so this is a little bit more, it's that next step because you don't have the support of your hands on your lower back. Okay, so for this one, you are still using a fair bit of core. There is still that compression in the back, and you want to be able to control how far you're going back in this pose as well. We really get into the shoulders for this one as well. Okay, so that was variation number 2. Variation number 3, have a look at my feet here. So right now, I've got my feet flat on the mat. So for this next variation, we're going to simply tuck the toes. Okay, so this actually just brings the heels up a little bit higher. It's a little easier to reach. Okay, and this is where we're starting to get into that closer to the fuller expression of camel pose. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you on one side what this looks like. So start first by lifting the left arm up, looking over the right shoulder so that you can actually see your right heel. Okay, and then out of the corner of your eye, you're going to guide your right hand to that heel. And then the left hand is going to come towards the right side, make a circle, and lean back. Okay. From here, again, we still want to press the hips forward. Take a few breaths, neck is relaxed. And when you come out of this pose, again, the left arm is going to come to the right, coming out of the pose the exact same way that we went into it. Okay, so I'll just do the other side to even it out. Right arm comes up, looking over the left, reach back, right arm to the left, and reach back. Coming out of the pose the exact same way that we went in. Okay, so that was number 3. Variation number 4, And the last one for today is going to be the full expression of camel pose. So, as you can tell, I've kind of been, what's the word I'm looking for? Stressing this. As we've gone through, we really do want to keep the hips pressing forward. The number one thing that I see in this pose, regardless of which modification you're using, is people tend to lean back to reach their heels. Okay, so this is not really providing any elongation in the quads. If anything, it's stressing them. Okay, so what we want to do is, again, keep the hips pressing forward. See if you can keep them stacked over the knees. And we are being mindful of that compression that's happening in the back and the stretch that's happening in the shoulders and the chest as well. Okay, so for the full expression, there's a couple different ways you can go into it. What I'm going to show you is just building on modification 3. Okay, so from here, left arm is up, looking over the right. I'm going to flatten my feet for this one, reaching back for one heel, reaching back with the left hand, and then bringing it down to my other heel. So this here would be full expression of camel pose. And again, left arm comes up, out to the right, and back up. There you have it.